Hey, wrestling fans, it's the Birdman Coca Beware, and you listen to the Card Subject to Change podcast. That's right, you don't want to miss it, and I guarantee you, you can't beat it with a stick, you can't whip it with a switch. Don't even try!
Welcome back to the show!
Welcome back to the show!
Well, sometimes love feels just right. It feels so real. It feels just like a power driver. Yeah, a power driver. That's what I'm talking about.
So, me personally, I'm actually a lifer. I don't remember a time that I wasn't watching professional wrestling. Even my mom explains it to me as when I was a small child, you know, I would just stop in front of the TV and just sit and watch, and I'd just be quiet. It just totally zoned in. So I always been a wrestling fan. And as I get older and even learn more about the business, it's like I continue to fall in love with it for different reasons.
It blows my mind. And I'm like tugging on my mom's pants and stuff. And I'm like, Mom. And she's like, yeah, what? And I go, I want to do that. And I'm like pointing at the TV. Well, she looks and she goes, oh, you want to be like Macho Man and wear the cool sunglasses and say, oh, yeah, and do the elbow drop? And I go, no, I want to be the guy throwing snakes at people.
Yeah.
And now, your hosts of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the For Frequency's Sake Tag Team Champions of the World, the Wizard CZ, and Never Wrong Nick Bull.
Hello, one and all. Welcome back to another exciting edition of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the podcast by the fan for the fan. Of course, I am your host, Never Wrong Nick Bull. Joining me is my co-host, the co-champ of the For Frequency's Sake Network, tag team champion, the Wizard CZ. Wiz, how you doing?
Man, I got to be a horseman for a couple minutes this weekend, so I'm feeling pretty damn good.
Good. It's very important that we talk about this chance that we are the co-champs of the For Frequency's Sake Network. This next interview, of course, is a non-title match. There's no way we're putting up the belts right now against our guest today. For sure. This is a non-title match, so we'll be walking out with our titles today for sure, right, CZ?
Absolutely. We're not giving those belts away this time.
No, not this time, especially with our guest today. He is one half of the tag team known as The Hype. We, of course, have experienced him firsthand by watching some Dreamwave shows together. But we are happy to have in studio today the one, the only Hunter Holdcraft. Hunter, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing great. He's repping Dreamwave, man. I love that hat, too. That is a slick-looking hat.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks for coming on the show. We really appreciate you. We've been wanting to get you on here for quite some time and talk wrestling with you. And we'll start off the show like we do most others. I asked every wrestler the same question. I'm going to ask you the same question. What got you into wrestling? Why pro wrestling?
Why pro wrestling? I just remember being a kid. I've had family that watched wrestling, so I just kind of grew up around it. So it just seemed kind of normal. I talked to people outside, and they're like, "Oh, professional wrestling," and I'm like, "Yeah, professional wrestling. It's just like another part of my life, you know. It's really just not. I don't know my life without it, to be honest with you. So why? Well, it's just ingrained in my DNA at this point. That's what it is.
That's excellent to hear. I love hearing that. You're a lifer. You're a lifer like the rest of us, I guess, then, right?
Oh, yeah.
Was there a polarizing moment you can remember that, like, wow, this is something I really love and want to pursue? Like, is there something that really trips a memory in your brain if you look back at it?
Looking back at it, I think when I was a kid, I'm only 23, so like my knowledge of wrestling only goes so far back.
Sure,
but all that I remember from watching wrestling, I mean, just seeing the larger in life individuals, being a role model for people or for kids, pretty much. Like my number one guy for the longest time was John Cena. I mean, I know that sounds kind of vanilla, but like he was the most larger in life guy. He overcame every obstacle that came through him. Motivated individuals around him, just was a just a big influence on the type of personality that I want to be inside the ring and even outside the ring in real life, to be honest with you. So that was probably one of the biggest things. So just him in general, like the aura that he brought and who he was and the personality and what he taught people, not just, like I said, not just in the ring, but what you can do outside of it as well.
So talking about John Cena, is there a favorite moment or match of his that you really gravitate towards, that you can go back and watch it over and over again?
I mean, there's a couple of them. I think the one match, even though like he never came out on top of, but how he kind of carried himself before and after was Money in the Bank 2011 against CM Punk.
Yes.
I mean, that's a very, like, everyone talks about that match, even to this day, especially when Punk came back to WWE not too long ago. Everyone talks about it, the pipe bomb, this, that, and the other. But it's, I think I always looked, because John Cena was my guy. So I always looked at how he carried himself through those times, like how he conveyed himself to the crowd. And he just kind of stayed the same guy, no matter if they were against him in Chicago, he stayed the same guy. Afterwards, when CM Punk left, he stayed the same guy. Just no matter what was thrown at him or when people turn against him, like he just kept his head straight and just kept his eye on the prize, and that was just getting the WWE Championship again. So like I think that was a really big defining moment, even though no one looks at him during that time. Everyone looks at CM Punk during that time. It's how he carried himself after that.
Hunter, it's great that you mentioned that. John Cena had an incredible run during that time. I think, you shed a light on something. Like, everybody focuses on Punk and that pipe bomb in that match, but really, Cena held up his end of the bargain too to make that rivalry, feud, match, whatever you want to call it, as special as it was.
Yeah.
He was a part of several of those during that time. Like, Cena was such a constant for such a long time, and I think we don't give him enough. People give him enough credit for the run that he had and what he did for the time that he did.
And I mean, during the time, like right now, like he just announced his last year, so like everyone's going back and looking back at it and being like, okay, what has he done other than the 16-time world title reigns? That was one thing that stood out to me. But no one really talks about how he was just very consistent with being a role model. I'll keep going back to being a role model because that's what I want to be. If I learned anything from watching wrestling as a kid, it's like he was a big role model for me. So I want to be a big role model for others. That's kind of that's how I look at it now.
So on that role, you're only a few years into the business. Let me ask this first. Who, as you were coming into being a professional wrestler, who was your role model? Like that you actually worked with? Who was your role model in the business as you're coming in?
Man. I mean, my 2-year mark's coming up here soon, so I haven't really been in here for very long. I just remember when I was first training, it was Christian Rose and Mike Hartenbauer were two guys that kind of took me under their wing and actually taught me the ropes, to be honest with you. And I mean, they would take time out of their day to teach me things, either they were inside the ropes or even just things about the business itself and outside the ropes too. Those are two guys that I looked up to and still do to this day when it comes to looking for advice on matches, how I should carry myself. And like, if I'm trying to convey a message, like those are the two guys that I would love to go to and ask those questions.
You talk about only being in the business for just 2 years, Hunter Holdcraft, but you seem leaps and bounds ahead of that. Is that from listening to guys like this? Is it from having natural ability? What would you say to people who would say, man, you look like you've been in this longer than 2 years?
I really appreciate that. To be honest, it's not the first time I heard that. And I'm always in denial when I hear that because confidence is one of those things that being a professional wrestler, you have to have confidence, because if you're
Mm-hmm.
not, you don't have confidence, you can't be safe with others, or just like you seem kind of off. But so I always stress about if I did it right, if I do everything perfect. I'm kind of like what they call like a student of the game. Like everything that I do, I want to be the best at it. I want to be perfect. If everything's not perfect, then I kind of beat myself up about it.
Sure.
But I think the one thing with professional wrestling that people that get into it, I have a really extensive amateur wrestling background. So like footwork and getting off the ground and lifting people and suplexing people, like that's second nature to me. The part that I have been working on for the past year or so has been the charisma, like taking my moments, taking my time, engaging with the crowd, things like that. So I think what makes people think that I am leaps and bounds ahead of 2 years of experience is just having the natural ability of kind of a ring awareness. I think ring awareness and the visuals that I give off and the being able to do moves, like that's half the battle. The other half of the battle is trying to connect with the crowd. And that's the part that, like I said before, that's the part that I have been focusing on. And I'm still trying to get that part down. But like I said, I'm a perfectionist, so I'll probably never be perfect. But I think I'm almost there.
We're talking with Hunter Holdcraft here on the Card Subject to Change podcast, the podcast by the fan for the fan. We are powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook of Country Financial. Let's tap into that amateur wrestling background. How much of a head start, per se, has it given you in these 2 years that you have of professional wrestling experience? You talk about the amateur wrestling background. You can see it in your matches, your presentation, how you move, but talk about just really how much that has helped you. Maybe, get ahead thus far by leaps and bounds.
I think, I did amateur wrestling since I was 7 years old. So I'm 23 now. I'm going to be 24 here soon. So that's,
hey, you're a 16-year vet when it comes to that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. But I think how that sets like footwork and knowing how to control my own body. That's probably, like I said, that's probably one of the biggest things when you're doing a match in the ring, is knowing where you are, knowing how to control your body. I've been doing push-ups since I was 10 years old. So it's like, I know how to control my own body. Now it's just trying to control others. And that's, granted, that's what amateur wrestling is, knowing how to control someone else's body and manipulate it into a way that favors whatever outcome you want. So I think having that and being able to control someone else's body, so to do moves pretty much. And what also helped me with that too is my persona, I should say, is the amateur wrestler trying to figure out how to do professional wrestling. So I kind of just took like my lack of experience and have turned it into something that works. So
Yes.
like when I do a double leg takedown, not a lot of people do a double leg takedown in indie wrestling right now, or like do like 3 or 4 roll-ups at a time trying to get a quick pin. Like that's amateur wrestling stuff, and not a lot of people do that. So like that sets me apart from a lot of people that are in those shows. So I think it's just, I bring something different to the table, and everyone likes something different every single match. So I think if I get better at that, as well as getting better at the other things that people can constitute as professional wrestling. So like more of like the typical grapple and strikes, big moves, like kicks, stuff like that. Like I'll get that later on, but if I stick to what I know now and then make it a little bit extra than what it would be in an amateur wrestling match, like I think I've been doing a pretty good job at that.
I think you're in a great spot currently, because I think any time in pro wrestling, when stuff from amateur wrestling is brought in, I feel professional wrestling fans as a whole, welcome that with open arms and like, okay, he's incorporating something from the amateur wrestling. We like this. We can get on this. I think that's why Kurt Angle was such a big hit.
So when I first started training, like that's like I I knew what I wanted when I first started training, and was to do this merge of amateur wrestling and professional wrestling. And first guy I look at, Kurt Angle. What does he do? So I studied him for hours and hours on end. Like I would in breaks when I was at college, like I'd be doing my homework on one screen and have a Kurt Angle match on the other screen.
Yeah.
That's all I would do is I would watch Kurt Angle. I would watch Chad Gable. I mean, heck, like there's other guys that implemented amateur wrestling. Like even Eddie Guerrero did amateur wrestling in some of his matches. So like I would be like, okay, I can do this amateur wrestling move in this place and chain it around with a couple other things. And my mind's always moving, always thinking about how to structure a match. Like it's always constant. So Kurt Angle, number one guy. I think him and John Cena are like the amount of matches I've watched, like they're probably neck and neck in numbers at this point.
We were talking about John Cena earlier, not getting a lot of love. I think Kurt Angle as a whole doesn't get enough love. Not from you, just from wrestling fans as a whole. Like, he came into this not knowing anything about pro wrestling, and he turned out to be possibly one of the greatest ever in such a short amount of time. Like, he was like a fish to water when it came to pro wrestling.
Yeah, he didn't watch any professional wrestling.
No.
Even when he won a gold medal. I think I was watching the Angle documentary that they have on Peacock.
Yes, it's an excellent one.
Yeah, it's so great. I mean, I think I've watched it twice or three times. Like watching that like gave me like an insight of like how he thought of professional wrestling. I mean, granted, he's a gold medalist and he went straight to the WWE and was trained by some of the best and how to do things and how to do that crisscross that I'm trying to do. But I think people don't really give him enough credit because of like what happened afterwards. I think maybe, I don't really know. But what I do know is that he was, what people don't really talk about, I'll bring this up, is that he was like very charismatic.
Oh, yes.
Like no one really expected that of him. I think during his like the first like year or so, like didn't really see it, but like as soon as he started catching his stride with the character and some of the silliness that he did and how good of a heel he was, that's what kind of brought him to the top, and he should get recognition for that more than just his wrestling machine ability.
You said it there about how a guy who was so serious all his life, so serious in training, so serious in his work, but when he was able to accept being silly just a little bit, he was gold. He was absolute gold. CZ, I know you feel the same way, like the stuff he did with just Edge and Christian per se, and just how over the top, silly, stupid at times he was, but it just made him even a better character. He never had to work on his in-ring stuff because that was so good. His character stuff just was phenomenal. I'll gush over Kurt Angle here as much as I can. Like,
I can do it all day too.
He doesn't get enough appreciation. Like, I think you can consider him the best wrestler in TNA's history.
That is very true.
I know a lot of people didn't follow him in TNA after WWE, but he may be their greatest of all time. Like, he was that good. I just feel he doesn't get enough love.
Yeah, I mean, I'd watch, like, when it came to film study, I would watch not just Kurt Angle's, like, I think I first started with, like, his TNA run for, like, knowing how to work in the ring, because he did a lot more in-ring work than anything else in TNA. So if I started there and see how he meshed amateur wrestling and professional wrestling when he was at TNA, then I can watch his WWE stuff later and kind of get a feel for like how he brought in his charisma. So like I said, like his TNA run, really underrated, I think.
Yeah, we're talking about amateur wrestling and how it's helped you, how it's helped people like Kurt Angle. Something that would really put your amateur wrestling background to the test. I want to take a moment and acknowledge everyone who's tuned in live right now, because we have a first in my memory of the podcast. Hunter, someone has challenged you to an Iron Man match in the comments.
In the comments, who's this?
DL Reyes.
Hold on a second.
They want to challenge you to an Iron Man match. I mean, we've never booked a match on this show, but hey, I'm all for it.
Hey,
I am too.
I'll do it. I'm in. I'll wrestle for an hour. I just ran for an hour and a half today. So like, I mean, I'm ready to go.
So you've got the endurance, you've got the cardio. DL Reyes, I think Hunter just said challenge accepted. Somebody needs to book that match.
Yeah.
I think DL Reyes is ready to swim with the Sharks.
He's gonna feel the hype here soon.
There we go. Yeah.
He's gonna if he wants to feel the hype, I'll bring it. I'll bring it for sure.
All right.
Now I'm getting fired up. Now I'm ready to go.
That is a perfect way to bring me into the next question here. Now, you are one half of the Dreamwave Tag Team Champions, the Hype, you and 12 Gauge. Cage Match has the official reign as 352 days. I know there was an interim tag team champion team somewhere in there, but how does that feel being so young in the business to be at the top of the business in Dreamwave as the tag team champions?
I mean, man, I'm from LaSalle, born and raised, and I think I went to the first ever Dreamwave show back in 2009 when they brought in Kamala. So, I mean, from being at those Dreamwave shows month after month after month to starting out my career at the first ever Dreamwave back in 2022 to not too long later becoming the Dreamwave Tag Team Champions, which I've seen many teams come by and reign those and raise those same titles. I'll name a team like Zero Gravity, for example. Like, they're my favorite as a kid. So, I mean, it means a lot to me to have that title around my shoulder and have a great partner by my side to carry them with. And I think it's already almost been a year. So like, I can't even, wow, I didn't really put that into thought, actually, to be honest with you. Like, it doesn't felt like a year. It's felt like a couple months. But there was the interim tag team champion situation where my partner did get hurt a little bit. So I guess we didn't defend it every single show, but we're healthy. We're ready to go. And I am just, like I said, it's really unreal to me that I am at what they would call the top of the tag team division in Dreamwave Wrestling. It's just 9-year-old me could not fathom that, to be honest with you.
Absolutely. Talk about that alliance, that your partnership here, and how the Hype came to be.
So me and 12 Gauge actually went to high school together here in LaSalle. So I've known him since, I think we did youth wrestling together as well. He did that for he did it all throughout high school as well. So he's a couple years younger than me, but I've known him since I was 10 years old. So we weren't really like buddy back then or anything like that. But I mean, we knew of each other and we wrestled with each other. And it was October of 2022 outside of Luz Zagrado's in Peru in the parking lot, the second ever Dreamwave show back. We were just thrown together as a tag team to face the 4-Star Heroes. And I mean, me and him just clicked. Like it was the what do they call it? Chemistry. The chemistry was just there no matter what. And so they liked it so much that we were together in February of that or December. Or actually at the next show, we teamed again and we formed the name The Hype. And I mean, we just ran with it ever since. Like, me and him like hang out in the regular, we would train at least twice a week together. And so just like spending a lot of time with him, I've got to know him very well. And all we do is talk wrestling, no matter like if it's, he texted me earlier today talking about that Iron Spirit show he was at last night. And he told me what he thought of it. And I mean, I think it's just having that chemistry and having that connection with a tag partner really makes it easy to come up with things that haven't really been, you don't think have been done before, or like you have a trust in him that his thought process is, I'm trying to think of where I'm going to go from here, but we just click. That's all it is. We were brought together in 2022. We've just running with it, and it's been catching fire. Like we didn't expect to get the reaction that we've had this past couple of years, but I'm so thankful for it, and we are running with it. We are balls to the wall, as they say. Like we're just running with this.
It's chemistry.
It's just chemistry. It just is. Like, I've known him forever, and like we just kind of built off that, and here we are. That's all it is.
And you guys gel so well in the ring together. You look like a team that's been together for much longer than that. And I think that's over half the battle. Tag teams that get put together, they may look good, they may sound good, but they don't have that chemistry, and it shows. But you guys, that doesn't show. You guys flow together, gel together so well, and I think it's an attribution to you guys both for you guys both like hit the ground running with this. It just shows that you guys really care for each other, and it looks like you've been together longer than 2 years.
Thank you.
In my opinion.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, and also too, like our styles are different. So like
Yes.
whenever you get a match with the hype, you're gonna get the amateur wrestling of me and my strength to catch and throw, and then his ability to be quick, fast striking, running around the ring. He's kind of a spaz sometimes. He's everywhere. Like you see that in our entrance. Like if I did what he did in our entrance, I'd be blown up like first minute. So like, I mean, just him having the energy, he brings the energy, and then I bring like pretty much the brute force pretty much, you know? So it just, that kind of chemistry, you don't really see that anymore. A lot of these tag teams have like the same type of style, but I think us having this kind of dynamic really sets us apart from other tag teams, and that along with the chemistry just makes it work.
I look at it this way: 12 gauge has the flash, you have the sizzle.
I like that. I like that a lot.
And I'll tell you what, with the hype, and I was wanting to get to this later. We'll get to it now. I think you guys really took off when you found a good dance partner in Wasted Youth. Those series of matches you guys had tore up Dreamwave over the course of those months to determine who was the interim champion, who was the real champion. I think you guys have the chemistry, but you found the chemistry with somebody else, and you guys in Wasted Youth made some magic.
Yeah, we definitely did. That June show last year was like, sure, me and Gage were tag team. We're doing shows where like here and there. We were traveling a little bit, but it was that match that kind of gave me the confidence in our tag team for sure that we can hang with those guys, because those guys are 100 miles an hour all the time, you know, like move. And to be honest with you, when that match was announced, I was kind of like doubting myself a little bit. Like, can I actually hang with these guys? I'm so new to everything that like, can I actually hang with these guys? Can me and Gage like pull things together to even compete, as in like entertain as much as these guys do with their high flying moves and their destroyers and their Spanish flies and whatever else they do. But that match, when it was all said and done, and we got all the praise in the locker room, we got all the praise on social media saying like, you guys stole the show, like that was match of the year, all of that, like that gave us the kick that me and Gage needed to like run with whatever we were doing, no matter if we like lost that match or not. Like something was born that day that I think we've been like holding on to for a while. And even if it was that match or the following match in August when we won the tag team championships, like those two matches, I think are like a defining moment in my career so far. And like, it's a defining moment in the Hype's career so far as well. Like those, I have nothing but good things to say about Marcus and Dylan. And like, I just remember being there that day. I don't mean to go on a rant for you guys or anything like that.
That's great.
Okay. I just remember being like getting ready for that show. And me and Gage go to talk about this match, and we were talking about it for weeks ahead, because like we were watching their film, we were seeing like what can they do, what will they do, what do you think they will bring up, but just putting it together was so easy, surprisingly easy, that like I said, afterwards when it was all said and done, everyone said that we stole the show. Like that just gave me so much confidence, and I've just been riding with that. Like it's like thinking about that right now just gives me goosebumps. Like I am riding like now my gears are turning right now. Like, wow, yeah, like such a great 3 matches that we've had together, and hopefully we get to do that later on in the future too. But I know Marcus is doing well in the alternative title division. He actually is facing for the alternative title here in 2 weeks in a 4-way. So like he's Mr. IWTV. He's the what do they call him? The prodigy, right?
I think so.
Yeah, so, and he definitely is. Like he thinks he lives, he breathes wrestling, and I definitely learned that day for sure.
I was at that first match that you guys took on Wasted Youth in June. I missed the August match, but let's talk about the third and final match that you guys had. A unique ladder match at the Knights of Columbus in LaSalle, where the ladder or the belts were perched over the aisle. That's unique. Haven't seen that in wrestling. Usually they're over the ring, but with the venue and stuff, I think it added the dimension to your guys' match. Talk about the setting of that match 3 and how it went down for you guys. I mean, that was an incredible match.
Thank you. And well, for when it was first announced, usually at Dreamwave when they would do TLC matches, it was pinfall or submission with foreign objects. Like that's how they used to do it. But J-Rep came over to me and he was like, I have an idea. And I was like, what's this idea? And he goes, I want to suspend the belts. And I said, the Knights of Columbus is pretty short. But he brought up the idea of doing it in the aisleway. And my first thought was, I'm gonna have to climb a ladder all the way up to the ceiling. Like I'm not a heights guy. I'm not really one with heights. So like I was like, being up on a ladder, like fighting in an aisleway, and all there is just not concrete floor, but like hard flooring on the bottom. Like a lot of stuff can go wrong. So, but like that decision was not made until like a couple of days prior. And so when I walked into the building and I saw the titles hanging above the aisleway, I was like, oh boy, here we go. If you notice throughout that match, like I don't climb that ladder until the end for a good reason.
Make your trip count, right?
Yeah, for sure. For a good reason too. Like I'll throw someone through a table. Like someone will throw me through a table. I'll get hit with chairs, but you get me on top of a ladder and you're like, okay, it's shaking a little bit. Like that kind of freaked me out a little bit. But I'll be honest, like that match went together so smooth. Like I said, like me and Gage and Dylan and Marcus had like this, like, even though we didn't really talk for a long time, like we got together for this match, it just clicked. Like it was really easy to put together. Like we're all just like, okay, what are the coolest things that we can do here? And we want to steal this show like right out of the gate. And I mean, like I said about the June show, after anniversary, like afterwards, they were all just saying like, you guys stole the show. You guys did awesome. Like that was the match of the night, this and that. And I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. like that's what we wanted. And that's what happened. And mission accomplished for sure. Like that's what we wanted. And that's what happened. And I could not be any more happy with it. So like, it just like proved that we had a good chemistry and we had something really good there. And I think it was a nice cap to the trilogy that was the Hype versus Wasted Youth.
We are in studio with Hunter Holdcraft, one half of the Hype. You're listening to Cards Subject to Change, the podcast by the fan for the fan, powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook of Country Financial. We have to take a couple moments to hype our brethren on the network, the other shows on the network, and some of our sponsors. So we're gonna do that here, and on the other side of the break, we'll have our weekly moment of focus with JT Energy. We'll be right back.
Football season may be over, but for frequency's sake, still has you covered for all your sporting needs. Tune in every Sunday when the best professional wrestling podcast around, Cards Subject to Change, gets you caught up on everything inside the ropes. They won't miss a count with weekly analysis and interviews. More into auto racing? We've got a double dose for you on the track. Tune in to Fast Money with Rod Villagomez each week and win some money with the quickest bets in all of sports. Want more insight from Pit Row? Check out the Green, White, and Checkered podcast where they give their insight on everything happening on and off the track. Need your basketball fix? Points in the Paint has you covered with live shows every other week looking at everything in the association. Backed by popular demand, we have the return of The Payoff Pitch, FFSQC's baseball show, covering you on news around the MLB. If you're missing football, don't fret. Mark and Dan still have you covered in the football lounge. Missing Joe Winkle? Probably not, but he's still here talking sports on Educated Ignorance. Football season might be over, but we've still got you covered. For frequency's sake, you know what we mean.
For Frequency's Sake is brought to you by Durham Remodeling, serving the Quad City area's remodeling and repair needs since 1973. Clint's Draft House, grab a bite and a pint. 7th Street Moline. Lopez, New York-style pizza served up by the slice or pie, Davenport. Lifted Energy, energy drinks, coffee, donuts, and more. #GetLifted. Atomic Sports Cards and Collectibles. Sports cards and memorabilia, vintage clothing, hats, pennants, and more. Ryan Allison Tattoo. Step into the vibrant world of tattoos with Ryan Allison. And A Cut Above, offering quality custom woodwork designed specifically around our customers.
Hey everyone, we are checking out at Walmart. We've got ourselves 4 full carts. Got plenty of toys here. We're going to see what our final number is here in a couple of minutes. But we've got a couple of nice folks here checking us out. But hopefully we'll got plenty of stuff for everybody to get everybody a nice happy Christmas this year.
Football season is just around the corner, and once again, For Fantasy's Sake is running its annual Toys for Tots Fantasy Football Leagues. Don't miss your chance to be crowned the best fantasy football player in the Quad Cities and help raise money for Toys for Tots of the Quad Cities. The For Fantasy's Sake Toys for Tots Bowl is loaded with great prizes and even better local celebrity participants, ranging from professional athletes and news personalities, and even former Iowa Hawkeye fullback, SCW Pro and Pro Wrestling Trailblazer, Steve Manders. To sign up, just visit For Frequency's Sake on Facebook or Twitter and follow the links.
Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to the show, everyone.
Hey, we are Card Subject to Change. We are joined in studio by Hunter Holdcraft, but before we talk to Hunter again, we've got to take a moment to focus. So I'm going to toss things over to our good friend JT Energy, and we'll be right back after his moment of focus.
Welcome to a moment of focus with the feline phenom, JT Energy. Hi. What are we focusing on this week? Card Subject Change podcast. What are we focusing on? Last week I was a little mad and it did not work out for me. So I'm gonna chill. This time. You know what we're gonna do? You know what we're gonna focus on? Just relaxing. Just taking a deep breath. Taking it in. Give yourself 60 seconds today to just exist. Don't forget your existence, waking up. It's all something that someone does not get anymore. This has been a moment of focus with the feline phenom, JT.
I'm taking my 60 seconds to relax here. That was very, very therapeutic. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm relaxed.
We are with Hunter Holdcraft here, one half of the Dreamwave Tag Champs, The Hype, and you're listening to the Card Subject to Change podcast. I want to ask you, Hunter, now that you guys are the champions, you've had this great feud with Wasted Youth. Who's the biggest threat to your guys' titles now in the Dreamwave landscape? And it's a constant changing landscape because you never know who's going to be coming in or leaving as a tag team.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of new tag teams coming in these past couple of shows. I know Bang and Matthews, they're a really good team. They're Chicago based and they have a really unique dynamic, kind of like me and Gage do, but they're more, how do I say it? They kind of use each other as a catapult. Like that's pretty cool. How do you defend against that? That's the one thing that me and Gage are going to be having to think of some hope. I mean, maybe sometime here soon. I know Violence is Forever, who we defended against in June. That was a really tough match. We barely skated out with that one. So, I mean, I wouldn't doubt if they stay on a winning streak these next couple of shows, if they get another shot. And even just focusing on in 2 weeks from now, main event, like it was their first match at Dreamwave in June. And we're facing them on August 3rd. And I mean, they have a really, like I said before about Bang and Matthews, they have a really neat dynamic where they're pretty much like the circus, I believe. So like that's a really neat offense that trying to find some counters to is going to be pretty tricky. But I think me and Gage have a pretty good game plan so far. I'm sure me and him will get together and talk about that a little more. So, I mean, those are just 3 teams that I think are going to be around for a little bit in the Dreamwave tag team division that'll be like coming after our tag team titles. So we just got to be ready for anything, anybody, and any team at any time. So, I mean, I'm sure me and Gage are more than capable of taking care of ourselves in any of those situations. But those are just 3 teams that I believe will be coming after our tag team titles here soon.
Sure.
So I want to ask you a question that I bring up every once in a while. The saying is iron sharpens iron. And I want to know whether it's in a singles match or whether it's in a tag match, who have you been in the ring with that really has sharpened you and brought the best out of you? If I can not stumble over words.
Okay. Well, I mean, one of my both my mentors, Christian Rose and Mike Hartenbauer, those are some guys that challenged me. I've had a couple matches with each of those guys, and like even though those are a lot of teaching moments, like I have to be on top of my game to kind of prove to them like where I started out and where I'm at now. Another match that, I mean, tag team wrestling, Wasted Youth was one of those guys for sure. Iron sharpen iron. They really shaped us into who we are today. I'm trying to think of somebody else in the past little bit. I had a match with, I don't know if you guys know him or not. I think he's from Ohio, Damian Chambers. He's a guy, I faced him a couple months ago, and he's one of those guys, like, I felt like I had to be on top of my game to wrestle him. And it was one of those matches where like we just went like strike for strike, move for move. And I think I came out of that match a lot better than I was. So, I mean, those are just a couple of examples of people that have really brought the best out of me this past year and a half or so.
Hunter, I want to ask you about the current wrestling product. We are kind of in an unprecedented time of wrestling, maybe since the Attitude Era, where wrestling is so hot. You know, wrestling is cool again, although it's always been cool with me. To the masses. Anywhere you look, there's great matches going on. There's great stories going on. What are you watching on the bigger level, like the bigger guys, WWE, AEW, TNA? What's catching your eye? What's got your interest? What don't you miss right now?
Man, when I first started getting back into wrestling, I had a little bit of during high school, I was really busy with sports and everything like that. So I wasn't able to really catch a lot of pro wrestling at the time. I started getting back into it around my senior year of high school, which is about six or 7 years ago. And WWE was the product that I would watch. There really wasn't anything else, but I know I would watch Being the Elite on YouTube, and them starting up AEW. And I was like big AEW guy. I would watch AEW every week. I'd watch every pay-per-view. Like, they would put on great matches. They had great stories. But over time, I kind of widened my horizon on what I watch. I kind of watch a little bit of everything. So I'll catch a Dynamite. I'll catch Dynamite almost every single week, and I'll watch the pay-per-views of AEW. But I always check up on WWE for sure. So like, I kind of watch almost all of it. So it's mainly AEW and WWE. I don't really catch a lot of TNA that often, but I mean, the more I can, like I said, I'm a student of the game. I'm a sponge. I soak in everything. So whenever I get a chance to turn on a wrestling show, whether if it's Monday night and I'm watching Raw, if it's Wednesday night and I have some free time, I'll turn on Dynamite. or Friday and Saturday. And I mean, there's wrestling every single day of the week. So when it comes to the landscape of professional wrestling right now, there's so much content, and I want to soak up almost every single moment of it to kind of learn. I think sometimes I take myself out of like enjoying it because I'm so busy trying to learn it, and that kind of takes away some of the magic that's in professional wrestling. So
Sure.
Usually a show that will actually like suspend my belief is going back and watching some of the older stuff, because I know right now, watching some of the current product, I kind of think of to myself, I want to be there. So what do I have to do to stand out if I were to get an opportunity somewhere like AEW or WWE or Impact, or sorry, TNA, sorry, they changed the name, but
we know what you meant.
right. So it's like I'm kind of watching the entire landscape, like for storyline wise and being a character. Like WWE is like where they do that, and when it comes to like matches or like technical wrestling, I'll watch certain guys in AEW for that. But like, I just want to watch it all. I just want to watch it all for sure.
So
who would be, oh, go ahead, CZ.
I was just going to follow that up. If someone were to walk up to you with a contract right now, where do you see yourself fitting in most? AEW, TNA, WWE, where do you think is going to improve your skills and where you'll be the most valuable to right this moment?
For value wise, I mean, all these different shows of all these different aspects of wrestling. Like I said before, WWE focuses more on the charisma, while AEW focuses more on the wrestling aspect of it. It's where would I see myself fitting in better? Probably like today's Ring of Honor, probably an AEW, like that kind of umbrella. But I went to SmackDown when they were in Chicago, and seeing everything that goes on there really kind of made me think like maybe that's the end goal. Like, is that like, I'm still trying to figure it out. Like I said, I'm only 2 years in. I just want to learn the ropes, learn every aspect of it that I can. And if I do get an opportunity, I'm going to take it for sure. So like, I'm not very picky, but if it were to come in like how young I am and for what I'm able to do, like, I think I would thrive more in like I said, today's Ring of Honor of some sort, if that makes any sense.
What would be a current dream match of yours of the tag teams that are out there on, the big guys of the WWEs, the AEWs? Who would the hype put on a wonderful match with if you guys got booked with this team?
Oh man. When it comes to like how our dynamic works, and other dynamics that are out there, like I think me and Gage would spare well with like more of a high flying team. So like you would think of like some that are compatible to Wasted Youth. So like Private Party is one of those guys, or one of those teams. Like, I mean, I'm sure like I haven't watched many of their matches because I think they're usually on Collision or Rampage, which I don't really catch that often. But like I know back when I was watching a couple of years ago, like those guys were putting on matches with their high flying ability and their tandem tag team. Like he would like flippy cup pretty much, like all that stuff. I mean, I think we would have a really good match with those guys. Other tag teams. I mean, DIY is one of those guys.
Yes.
Like
yes.
Me and Gage in April, we had the DX theme gear, but a couple of weeks before that, they had their DX gear at WrestleMania. And me and Gage like texted each other and we're like, "Did you see that? Like they just stole our gear." No, I'm kidding. In my head, I was like, "We've had this gear for months now. We're ready to use it." And then they stole our thunder on WrestleMania. Like now we're just gonna be like DIY 2.0 to a certain extent, But like I feel like our dynamics would go well with those guys. Those are just two teams that are on top of my head. Like I know, like if we're talking about another high flying team, because like I said, I'm more of a catch and throw. Like I'll catch anyone in any situation and make it into some sort of suplex. So like if Top Flight would do a flip, I would catch, throw. Gage would do something. Like, I mean, like those types of tag teams and those type of dynamics, I think would work well with us. But when it comes to my style of wrestling that I really like to watch, I think FTR is one of those teams.
Yes.
Like I thoroughly enjoy FTR tag team wrestling. Like that's just no flips, just fists. Like that's the type of wrestling I grew up and enjoyed. And I mean, I really enjoyed them in NXT. I really enjoyed them when they did their main roster run. I enjoyed them in AEW. So like that would be like a dream tag team to face if I were to choose one tag team.
That was going to be my answer.
You
I
have,
love those guys, and I think you two teams together would make magic. It'd be like a changing of the guard. You know, the older guys that are traditionalists and bringing up these young guys. It would be great.
We definitely have to fine tune some things before we're ready for those guys. I believe.
Oh, for sure.
For sure. Give it a couple of years, you know.
They've been doing it a little longer.
A little bit.
I think though you've just booked 3 matches that Nick and I would be front row for.
Heck yeah. I'd love that.
Yeah. Tag team wrestling is my favorite thing about wrestling. So getting to talk tag team stuff with anybody is great. We were at a show. We went to a show last night in Waterloo for the Hall of Fame weekend and able to meet Arn Anderson and tell him what he meant to me about tag team wrestling was big. And having you on here as part of the hype and a fun tag team. I love tag team wrestling, and just being able to appreciate tag team wrestling and tell you that is big deal. That's why I love to do this stuff. So love tag team wrestling, and you guys are you're the bar, so to speak. Hey, how about you guys against the bar?
Really
Sheamus
good one
and
too.
Cesaro. That'd be a great one, right?
When they were doing the best of 7 and then
Yes.
they became a tag team, like
Yes.
I was watching every single match, and then when
So
they became
was
a tag team, the bar, like those matches that they put on were just awesome. Another great dynamic of a tag team.
Mhm.
If you would have told me when I first started out that I'd be mainly focused on tag team wrestling, I would not have believed you, because I was never really a big tag team wrestling kind of guy, other than D-Generation X, of course. But like the more, like I said, I'm a student, so like I would watch matches, and I would watch old tag team wrestling and stuff like that. And it's a totally different art than a singles match, and I kind of appreciate it a little bit more. So I mean, yeah, I just love tag team wrestling now. It's almost everything that I watch now.
When it's done well, my argument with tag team wrestling is this: you've got 4 moving parts working together, and when it's done well, it's a thing of beauty.
Yep.
And I think oftentimes it's better now, but in a few years past, the art was lost. It was more about going out there and maybe trying to advance a story, not having a good match. But now you're having great tag matches constantly in any product that you watch, and I think it's a testament to you get 4 good guys together and they work. It's absolute magic, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's definitely an art that not a lot of people like think about. They think about one-on-one wrestling, but like tag team wrestling, like you're working for a tag. Like it's definitely a different dynamic to a match that creates a lot more drama.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't say it's easier because there's 4 moving parts, but like you can create a really good story just based off a tag. Like,
yes,
and if that's the base, like look at the heights that we could probably take it to, like take it even further than just working a tag. So it's definitely,
I mean, for crying out loud, R-Truth got a hot tag in a Royal Rumble match. I mean, have you ever seen a pop for a hot tag like that?
I think that was the biggest pop of the night. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think we were watching that, and we had like a pool. So I think it was five or six people pulled numbers out of a hat, and whatever number that is, that's who you got. And when R-Truth came out and like went for the hot tag, everyone forgot about their numbers and we're just like, this is great. Like no matter,
that shows
like
me that tag team wrestling is back.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Tag team wrestling is back.
So Hunter, I know we talked about the big dogs, AEW, WWE, TNA, and that's obviously a long-term goal. But what is your 5-year plan? Where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
Well, 5 years from now, I mean, I hadn't really thought about that. I usually take everything like I live my life one day at a time for the most part. Like I write down goals here and there, but upon those big goals, I have sub goals. I always write them down. I'm a very like detailed person. So I don't really have a timeline per se, but I know what I want to do leading up to the big goal, which is a big company or just making an impact on people. But in 5 years from now, I see myself like I would want to wrestle in the West Coast. I would want to wrestle in like I don't know, the mountains, like I want to wrestle everywhere. I want to travel the country, maybe even go out of the country to like Canada or Mexico or Japan or wherever this new life that I've taken on, wherever it takes me, I'm willing to take every single step and every single opportunity that is brought to me and just run with it. So, I mean, 5 years from now, I would like to have wrestled in at least half of the states in the country.
Okay.
That's probably like one of the biggest things. Like I'm just, like I said, I don't really look towards the big goal like all the time. I'm more of a smaller goal type of person. So, I mean, if I do get a big opportunity within 7 years of being in the business, like signing somewhere, amazing. That's what I dreamed of as a kid. I want to be on TV doing this stuff, being a role model for kids out there and role model for people out there that need some sort of motivation. Like I want to be that guy to give people that little bit of a push. I mean, I do that with like my job that I have now. I do that with wrestling. Like I just want to be a role model. So, however I can do that, whether that's traveling the country and going in front of different audiences and showing them what I can do. That's probably like in 5 years from now, like I said, at least half of the states in the country.
We've talked a lot about being a role model, and I know we've asked this of people who have been in the business for way longer than you have. I'm going to ask it to you and get your perspective as someone who's only been around for a couple of years doing this. What do you say to someone who is just getting their foot in the door? What advice do you have for the generation that's coming after you?
I mean, the advice that I was given was just keep your ears open, listen to those around you, because whether I'm in pretty good shape. So like, the people around me, like sometimes I see a lot of people come in here and they're like, oh, I'm in such better shape or I'm a better wrestler than this person. When in all reality, you just gotta stay humble, stay humble, keep your ears open, like listen to the vets. Like they've been around a lot longer than you have. And I guarantee they know a lot more than you do about either if it's getting bookings somewhere or how to control a crowd or just simple things like that. Like, just keeping your ears open and soaking it up like a sponge. That's probably biggest advice.
Is the biggest challenge for a wrestler that's 2 years in or maybe your age or just starting, is it getting the bookings? Is that the biggest challenge you guys face?
You just got to get out there. I mean, a lot of the times now, if there's a show and you have a Saturday open and there's a show, a couple hour drive, go help set up, meet people, meet new people, networking is a really big thing that no one really talks about.
Sure.
So like getting to know people, and like putting yourself out there. That's the one thing. Not a lot of people will take chances. Everyone wants to stay in like their home promotion. But if the more you get your name out there and the more people that have eyes on you, you don't know who's going to want to take a chance on you.
So Hunter, we've been talking for about an hour now. That's usually the point where we start to wrap things up. But before we get you off the hook, where can people find you on socials? And if they want to see you in the ring, where can people see you in the upcoming weeks?
So my socials, I believe it's underneath right here, Hunter Hold 22 on Instagram and X. I'm not used to calling it not Twitter anymore.
We're not either.
Yeah.
You can find me on Twitter at Hunter Hold 22. I am also on Facebook, Hunter Holdcraft Professional Wrestler. Those are the places you can find me on socials. In the upcoming weeks, this weekend on Sunday, I am at Grindhouse Pro Wrestling in Jeffersonville, Indiana. And then the next weekend, I am at Dreamwave Wrestling here in LaSalle, Illinois on August 3rd. And then I like to keep up. I'll post my schedule on Instagram every couple of weeks just to give everyone an update of where you can find me. So that's that's all of that. So that the next 2 weekends, I know exactly where I'm going to be. I have to look at my schedule and see like where else I'm going to be as well. Like I said, the Iron Spirit shows I'm at. I like to take the drive up to AAW in Chicago. I usually do the pre-show there every once in a while. You can find me at Tri-State Wrestling out in Hamilton, Ohio. Me and Gage tag there as well. We've had some really, really good matches out there. So I'd really check out Tri-State Wrestling. And I mean, that's pretty much where you can find me mostly.
Well, Hunter, I want to thank you so much. It has been a pleasure having you on. This has been a lot of fun. We're gonna wrap the show up here. Just a reminder, we are Card Subject to Change, powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook of Country Financial. Nick, we've got a big week next week. I know the last couple of weeks we've had some double bookings throughout the week. We're taking this week to just kind of chill and get ready, because next week is birthday week for Card Subject to Change.
That's right.
August 1st is when we dropped our first episode 2 years ago.
Yep.
I'm excited. We've got 3 great shows in that week lined up, Nick.
We start our terrible twos.
But we do. We're gonna be the podcast that is just gonna be an absolute terror. We're gonna tear through everything. But next Sunday, we have our second ever panel show. We will be joined by our good friend, Mr. Timothy Regal. We will also be joined by Zach Takis of Shotgun Wrestling Radio, Top Shelf Tommy of the 2 Count podcast, where comedy meets wrestling, and Joe Monroe of the Joe Monroe Show. Our biggest birthday present is going to happen on Wednesday. We've been trying for over a year, and schedules just haven't meshed until now. We have Dante Leone, he used to wrestle. He's wrestled in Pro Wrestling Noah in Japan. We know him from SCW. I know him from Iron Spirit Pro. I've seen him there as well. Really excited about that. And then the following weekend is SummerSlam. And we've got a couple of guests coming on to review SummerSlam. And the last time we had Jared Thumb in the studio, the show was almost taken over in the comments by our good friend JT Energy. So we figured, let's bring them both on. We'll have a lot of fun together.
Absolutely. Make sure to stay tuned for those upcoming episodes. We want to thank you for being along for episode 138 of Believe the Hype. We want to thank Hunter Holdcraft once again for joining us on the show. Get out and see this young man wrestle. Get out and see him and his tag team perform. They are one of the best around right now, and good things are coming for these guys. Better things are coming for these guys. They've done a lot of good things so far, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for these two.
Absolutely. Thank you again for tuning in. For my partner, Never Wrong Nick Bull, I am the Wizard CZ. We will see you next week right here on Card Subject to Change.